In the previous video, I got as far as defining a route with parameters. The route is search / some keyword / some number. And the response from the server that comes back is always, I love whatever word, however many times the number is. So if I were to change this to unicorn and unicorn and put it just with /3, I would see I love unicorns 2 3 times. So this is, while fun, and I like to see how much you love unicorns and rainbows. Do you love them as much as me? I don't know, probably not, which is a very healthy, probably much healthier than however I am. But the point of what I'm saying is this is kind of useless. Let's turn this into something useful. And so the example that I'm ultimately building here is a sentiment analysis API. And so one approach to sentiment analysis is to keep a dictionary of words that either have a positive or negative score associated with them. So I'm going to go to the code, and I'm just going to, right here at the top, I'm going to create a variable, and I'm going to call it words. And I'm going to put some words in it with a score. So I'm going to say rainbow has a score of 5, and unicorn has a score of 3. What are some sad words? Doom has a score of -3. Okay, so this is my very basic sentiment analysis dictionary. I've got 3 words in it and what their score is. So first thing that I want to do in making a sentiment analysis API is expose this data. So I'm going to actually add another route here. I'm going to say app.get all, send all, and then I'm going to say function send all. And this is the callback, which has a request and a response. And all I'm going to do is say response.send words. Now notice what I did up here. In this reply, I just created this string. And this string just kind of like spit itself out into the browser. But somebody using the API is probably going to want to get the reply back formatted as JSON. So I better do something to format this as JSON. Well, what is words? It's a JavaScript object. What is JSON? A JavaScript object notation. So one of the magical things about using Express is Express will automatically format your JavaScript object that you send out into the world as JSON. So this is actually done. So I can now go to /all, and I can see this is now me making an API request to my API, and I'm getting the list of words. And if I add another word to it, like gloom, doom and gloom, now I have another word there with a score of -2. I hit refresh. I see that as well. So what I want to do, in addition to having this be an API, so there's a couple of things I could do. One is that I might want to search for a particular word to see if it's in the API. If it is, get the score. Or I might also want to be able to, as a user, add words to the API. So this is a sort of design decision. What are you doing here? I'm just making a demonstration. I think it would be useful to see how can you create a route where a user can insert data into the database. And by the way, that's my database right now. So as I go through these videos, I'm going to get into persistence, working with databases. And there are various levels of that. On the one hand, this will persist. It will never go away. It's written there into the code. My database is hard-coded. Not the best solution, but it's a good starting point. So I'm going to change this particular route, and I'm going to change it to add word score. Add word. So I want a route where if the user adds a word with a score, it goes into the database. So I'm going to change this to add word. Here are the parameters. The word is data.word. The score is, and this is, I'm kind of being very long-winded about this. I can just say word equals request.params.word, but data.score. And then what I want to do is say words, word equals score. Look at this. This is me taking in the data from the user, the word and the score, and putting it into that object, right? Putting it into that object with a key value pair. The word is the key, the score is the value. And then I need to create a reply. And all of my replies, I want them to be written as an object. So I'm going to say message, thank you for your word. OK? So there we go. So now, if I run this and I go here to all, we can see all of the data is there. Now I'm going to go to one more window, and I'm going to go to add purple 5. Purple is a very happy word. I'm going to hit enter. It's going to say message, thank you for your word. So I got that message back. And if I go to all, we can see purple. Oh, and look at that. It got the, of course, the way that it's working is it came in as a string, not a number. So I could correct that if I want. Let's correct that. So I could say, let's make sure that is actually a number, because I might want to do some mathematical operations with it later. So let's convert that to a number. And I'm going to add the word again, hit refresh, and now you can see I got purple 5. So there we go. I have saved this word forevermore in the API. Now, there's a couple things I want to add to this. Number one is, what if I just go to add purple and I forget to add a number? I run this. It says it cannot get that. It cannot add this because it's looking for this particular route, and the route requires also a score. However, there is a way to make that score optional, which could be useful for something you might do, which is adding just a question mark to, and this really only works for the last one, although I'm sure there's some fancy ways around that. And then what I could do is I could say if not score, score equals 5, or I could say, I could actually say score is required. So let's say score is required. Just to I could add some error handling here. Like I could say var reply score is required. Else, all of this. So I'm basically saying whatever word comes in, if I get a score. So if not score, and also I should probably check, and I'm not going to do all this, but if I wanted to be really serious about this, I would also check to make sure score is a number. And if you sent me the score as friendship, then I would say the score has to be a number. But here, I can just create this variable var reply. I can fill it. If there is no score, I can say score is required. If there is a score, I can add it to the table and say thank you for your word, and then send the response. So this is one extra thing that I'm adding to this. And if I now run this, it's going to say, hey, score is required. So I can say now 5, thank you for your word. And we can go back here, and we can see purple is there with a score of 5. So there are a lot of ways to sort of check and see what's coming in and determine whether something is there or not. OK, so let's add one more thing to this. Let's add a search route so that if the user of this API wants to query for a particular word and get the score back, let's see how that would work. So I'm going to add another route. And I'm going to call it, I'm just going to go down here to the bottom. I'm going to call it a search for a word. And I'm going to say search word. I'm going to add that a callback now, search word with a request and a response. And I'm going to say the word you're searching for is request params word. And now what I want to do is see, does that word exist? If that word is part of our words table, I need to make a reply. I'm going to send back a message. I'm going to say status found. Word. That's kind of probably it's a little awkward what I'm doing. I'm just going to call this, yeah, it's fine. It's a little awkward what I'm doing with these variable names. And then score, I'm going to say words, word. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying if it's found, then the reply, equals this particular object. So if it's found, the status is found, here's the word, here's the score. Otherwise, the reply is status not found, and then there is no I can send back the word, there is no score. And I can say response dot send reply. So the idea here is that, I'm just showing you an example. Now I'm making a route for the API where a user could say, hey, do you have this word rainbow in your database? If you do, could you give me its score? If you don't, will you tell me that you don't have it? So this is yet another thing. Search word, check to see what word did the user set in. Is it part of the data? If it is, say it's found. And this is often a good technique. Let me give you back the data you asked for, because a user of this API might be querying like 1,000 different words and all the responses are coming back. And if the data that came with the request also comes back with a response, it's going to make it easier for the user to manage. So now let's run this. And I can see here, I'm going to go now to search/rainbow. We can see status found, the word is rainbow, the score is 5. Search unicorn, status found, word unicorn, score 3. Search kitten, status not found, word kitten. So this is how I am now making an API that allows a user to query the database. So we have the ability, and then by the way, now I can say add kitten 5, and then I can say search kitten, and now it's found with a score of 5. So notice how I'm only interacting with this API via the URL address bar. And ultimately, as I get through more videos here, I'm going to look at how do I actually interact with it from my client-side JavaScript code, which will really open up a lot of possibilities. So I now have an API which has 3 features. I can look at all the words that are in the database and their score. I can add a word like purple. Didn't I already add purple? So we're going to have to talk about that. And oh, purple's positive. Give it 3. So I can add a word, and I can also search and see if a word is in there. Purple is in there, but perhaps pink is not. So this is a good start. I have this idea of persistence. There's a database of information. Users can add to that database. Users can request all of the data from the database, or they can request one item from the database. But you'll notice here, I have this wonderful thing where I add kitten and purple. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quit the server, and I'm going to restart it. And I don't have kitten and purple anymore. So while there is persistence across do you hear the puppies barking about my wonderful API discussion? While there is this idea of persistence while the server is running, as soon as I quit the server and restart the server, I've lost any new data that wasn't just part of what was originally written in here. So in the next video, what I'm going to show you is how to keep persistence across multiple times running the server. How do I take what's here and actually not have it be hard-coded, but save it to a database? Okay, and I'll see you in the next video where I'll do that.